Welcome to the Aerial Alchemist, where movement transforms into magic and stories take flight. I'm Fallon, dancer, aerialist, and storyteller, inviting you into a world where circus and dance meet creativity, resilience, and community. Whether you're here to be inspired, to learn, or to simply dream a little bigger, you've found your place. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the Aerial Alchemist, episode 1. My name is Fallon. I will be your host, and I'm so glad that you're here joining me. A little bit about myself. I'm an aerialist, dancer, teacher, nurse, artist, witch, sister, friend, daughter, wife, a lot of things, the full alchemy. I'm the founder and artistic director, and I'm thinking about changing that title because truly it's more than artistic director. I wear all the hats at In the Wings, which is a aerial dance company based out of the Denver area in Colorado. And within the Wings, I create a lot of different things for people to enjoy. A lot of different art. We just finished a big production that was like 4 years in the making, and the next one won't take quite so long. But there were a lot of things that happened in my personal life, which will come up as we get into the meat of this podcast. But for now, we'll leave it at that. But my big passions in creating art are really fusing the aerial and circus arts with dance, technical dance like modern and contemporary and ballet and jazz and all of that, and making it cohesive, which is quite a difficult thing when there's very few of us who do it. And you're just kind of making it up as you go and seeing what works and what doesn't and what sticks and what doesn't. I also teach aerial classes and creation classes. And then in my other world, in my other part of my life, I'm a part-time nurse and I work at a hospital in the GI lab and I prevent cancer, which is it's a great job. And that will also come up more in this podcast, I'm sure. So yeah, I started this podcast because I've been wanting to do a podcast for a long time. I've been inspired by a lot of other podcasts. I've always been like an auditory type learner and person and receiver, which obviously shows in my work of being inspired by music that creates movement. And yeah, I had thought a long time about what the podcast could be about. And for a while, I thought I would do it in conjunction with my husband, and we would do one about our experiences as wildfire survivors and interview people, other victims and survivors and of natural disasters, and try to create change that way. And that has not come to fruition yet, but it might. We don't know. So then I thought about, well, what do I want to talk about? And the things that I am passionate about are aerial and dance and art and creating movement, creating joy, creating feelings, creating emotions, making people feel something, and then also using that as a method of therapy and a way to process and a way to transform your own life. So hence the Aerial Alchemist. Alchemy being about transformation. Also being a nurse, I'm so very interested in how the body works and working like physical healing in the body as well as emotional healing in the body. So those are some maybe topics that we'll get into as we continue throughout this podcast. So we'll have episodes by me, things that I talk about, talking about creativity, talking about industry type things in aerial and dance and circus. I'd love to have some guests on. I've already have some that are percolating that I might come on that we would talk about, and hitting on themes of art and aerial and movement and magic in all forms and transformation. Resilience comes up a lot, and then also community is one of my big missions, is to build community and make people feel safe and at home and have that sense of not being alone in all ways. So even if you're not a dancer or an aerialist or into magic, there's something here for anyone who's curious about creativity, about growth, and I'm so excited to get into this with you. So when thinking about ways that my art has transformed me, I think there's lots of ways, and I'll share more, some of them more recent than others, but to start with, I'll talk about the first time that I found my art to be extremely transformative for myself and in healing in a way that I wasn't expecting, because it was the first time that it had happened in that way. So when I was in nursing school, which feels like 6 lifetimes ago, you go through different rotations in your nursing training. And the one that there was a couple I was least excited for, but one of them that I was not super excited for was my OB rotation, labor and delivery, my baby, that sort of thing. And which is funny because most of my classmates, they wanted to be an L&D nurse. They wanted to deliver the babies, and it never really interested me. It didn't sound like something I wanted to be a part of. And maybe that's because I'm an Aquarius and I want to do something different than everybody else always. And if everybody else is doing that thing, then just out of spite, I'm going to not want to be a part of it. But I got into that rotation, and interestingly enough, I really enjoyed it. I was getting into it, and my big thing that I lived on during nursing school. Let me pull up the whole thing. I have it tattooed on my arm, but let me get you the whole thing. Okay, here we go. So it was a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt, and the full context quote is, "You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You were able to say to yourself, I've lived through this horror. I can take the next thing that comes along. You must do the thing you think you cannot do." And that quote, which then I later, for those of you who know me or are watching the podcast, look upside down, it's tattooed on my arm. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. I just always remembered that throughout nursing school. And then it's translated into every moment since in my life, every hard moment. You've looked horror in the face. You've seen this, and you can take the next thing that comes along. And I thought if I lived by that quote, that it would just make me a better nurse. That if while I was in nursing school, I did the hard thing, I did the scary thing, I did the thing I didn't want to do, it would make me a better nurse. And I was right. It was in ways that also I wasn't ever expecting. So I'm in my OB rotation. I'm on the labor and delivery floor. I got to see very cool things. I got to help with, well, I wouldn't say all the way natural birth, but a natural birth. And then I also got to see a C-section, which is a whole different story, but that is like watching the movie Alien for sure. And then we came in one day into into the hospital that we were doing a rotation at, and there was like a different vibe on the unit that day. It felt weird and not good. Something was off. And then as we walked by the room, we saw a sign on a door that signified that there was a fetal demise. So a baby had not made it. And my clinical instructor let us know what was going on and said, if you would like to take care of the baby, they weren't letting students in with the mom. It was too many people, and rightly so, right? But they said, if you would like to take care of the baby, you do not have to. It will be very hard. It will be very difficult, but you're welcome to. And I remembered, you must do the thing you think you cannot do. And I have had a thing personally with death and being scared of it. And I knew it might be hard to go take care of this stillborn baby, but I was going to do it. So I think it was me and only one other of my friends in my cohort. And we went and I gave the baby its first bath and got his pictures taken and got his little footprint done. And that was all, wow, it's so funny. It's been so long and it's starting to like stir up some emotion still. It was all very difficult. And it felt like an honor to be able to take care of this baby and to maybe make it a little easier for the mom, to give her those first pictures, to give her his footprint, and to have someone take care of her baby, even though he didn't live very long in this plane of existence. So that, as you can see or hear, affected me very deeply and was really hard. It was really hard to process. As I continued to try to process that, I was in my aerial class. This was really like early on in my aerial career. And I was talking with a couple of friends in my class, and we were all going through some form of grief of some way in that moment. And what ended up stemming out of that was two of us ended up doing a trapeze duet about grief that we ended up performing with a company called Artistry, where it was for new and seasoned artists who could test out new works and try new works in this like safe environment. And so we ended up performing with Artistry for 2 nights. And at the end of the trapeze duet, I'm sitting on the trapeze and my partner was holding onto my leg, and I drop her. She falls, I drop her. And for me, that signified like letting it go. It was this thing like grabbing onto me that I just let go of and dropped onto the floor. And I felt like this release happened. The first night that we performed it, I was so in it. And when I dropped her, I like let go of that grief. The grief's always there, but like the big chunk of it, the bigness of it, the heaviness, the weight of it. And it was funny because we performed 2 nights, and everybody said the second night I looked so much more intense and I looked so much more in it, but it wasn't how I felt at that point. It was just my body going through the motions, and like my body knew what it was supposed to do, but I wasn't feeling it in my heart and in my soul because I already let it go and I let that process happen. So we also had so many people like come up to us and say how much they were affected by it. Because the thing about creating a piece like that is, yes, it's healing for me as the artist to be able to like bring it and let it go, but it can be healing for the people taking it in, because it comes back to that sense of community and that sense of like, I'm not alone and other people are experience this too and feel this too. So yeah, so that's one way of alchemy in my art that I've used. So I'm looking at the clock and we're getting to a point where I think we're good, right? I think this is enough of me yammering at you for this episode. So I'm so excited that you're here to share with me in this journey. And please, if you would like to, if you enjoyed it, subscribe and follow. And if this sorts of thing speaks to you, maybe share it with someone who might need a little inspiration or magic today. So this has been the Aerial Alchemist. Now go create some magic of your own. Happy flying.